Hi, this is Joe Walensky. I'm the program manager for ConveyUX, and that's Seattle's UX conference. It's our annual event that's coming up in February 28th to March 2nd in Seattle. And one of the fun things I get to do is talk to the many presenters that will be at our event. And today I have the opportunity to talk to Matt Snyder. Hello, Matt.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, everything's going pretty well. Where are you speaking to us from today?
I am in Salt Lake City, Utah.
All right. Well, I'm in Seattle, and I just thought we'd learn a little bit about what you're all about, what you're involved in. So maybe you could just get started with talking a little bit about your background and types of things that you're involved in.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, right now I work at a company called Lucid Software, but I think like a lot of people in the UX industry, I started out with visual or graphic design. So years back, was in college and really passionate about visual design, and so as I graduated and kind of joined a workforce, I found myself working in a design department for a sports equipment manufacturer here in Utah. And from there, it was primarily print and marketing design. So really fell in love with the world of colors and a printing process. But as the internet boomed and technology moved online and software kind of exploded over the last 15 years, I think I was pulled to that kind of siren's call, right, of technology. And so I found myself moving from a print world to a job that had both a mixture of print and web design, and then I decided to kind of follow that passion and just solely do web and interaction interface design. I ended up a few jobs later at a company called Remedy that built an online medical informatics product. And so my first job in this world of software was kind of overwhelming, right? When you go from print into the world of technology, everything's different. The nomenclature, the systems. There's not a printer and color and paperweight anymore and bleed. It's release cycles and sprints and QA and writing front end code and working with engineers. And I loved it. Like I just fell in love with this idea that I think many people in user experience design have, and that is that the thing that I make somebody touches or somebody interacts with, and they're trying to. It's a tool. It's not just a poster, right? It's not just packaging on a product, but there's this engagement and there's this relationship that people have with technology, and that really seeped into me quite deeply and was very satisfying. What
are some of the things that you have going on at Lucid? Maybe talk a little bit about what that organization is all about and what types of things you're working on.
Yeah. So a few years later, now I'm at Lucid. Before that, I was at Adobe. But at Lucid here, what we work on is we create an online diagramming tool. So if you've ever used Visio or Glyphy, there's this world of diagramming where, think boxes and arrows. So Lucid Chart and Lucid Software, we've taken that type of value and put it on the web, right? Instead of this being locked down to people's desktops or laptop computers, you can build a diagram in the web. And while that might not sound I guess, very exciting or interesting. For me, it actually is, and it's a really promising industry because the types of people that need a diagram are often trying to model something in their world that they don't understand, right? They're trying to represent something that's hard to visualize, whether because of kind of time or space, or distributed teams. They need to come to an agreed understanding or truth. And that type of tool on the web where you can instantly share, somebody has a question or there's some confusion, and with just a couple of clicks, somebody in another part of the world can see what you're talking about from a diagram or workflow process point of view is an incredibly powerful experience. And that's what Lucidchart does, is we help people understand the world around them and kind of get into the flow of building products and building out processes and really communicating with the people around you, your coworkers, and other people in your industry.
Well, we've been able to use your one of your products in a class I teach at the University of Washington, and the students have really enjoyed using it. It's been easy to work with. I thought the next thing we would just talk about is do just a preview of the session that you're going to talk about at the conference. The title is Fission to Fusion, Boosting the Value of Your Design Process. So maybe talk a little bit about how you came to the idea for this session and what people can expect to learn from it.
Yeah, you bet. I think in the design world, there are kind of there's this dialogue that we hold standard as far as like the tools we use and the process we go through for designing. And working here at Lucid, I've had to challenge that for my own team and for our own company's kind of sake. And so my session is really about understanding and being critical of how you design and how you add value to the company. Lucid is a very fast-moving business, and every day we spend a lot of time on my team, and I assume most designers do, designing workflows and tools for other people. But how often do we look at what we're doing and we're critical of our work? So that's been really important to me over the last couple of years, and so this presentation and contribution to the conference has come from that. And I think anybody who attends that would really find this topic interesting, because we introduce a framework that we've had to use here at Lucid about evaluating the tools we use and how fast we work and what value we're really adding to the business. For example, I think designers feel a lot of this pressure to conduct user research, and we should do that. But when I look at my team and the time it takes to produce a prototype and contact customers and get it in front of them and get feedback, here at Lucid, it's almost worth just having an engineer build that and put it into the product and A/B test it as kind of the starting point, right? So we've had to kind of rethink how we design and how we improve the product and where we spend our time and what we invest in. We spent a lot of time over the last year, Joe, developing our own internal prototyping tool that has provided a lot of value to us. So I'm also going to introduce that kind of thinking and that technology to others as an example of how they might, for their particular circumstances and product, if it makes sense to do that internally. So my whole team now, we're able to produce really quick interactive prototypes with Angular and HTML as a method for getting kind of more work done faster. And also some use cases and stories about redesigning our flagship product and kind of opening the doors to Lucid a little bit about what it means to take a product and redesign it, and some of the pain that's felt there, and some of the wins and some of the failures that we've had as we've been critical about how we design and our process internally. So I hope anyone that comes and listens to that will go back to their organization and really think about how they work to improve, to not just improve the value of design for their organization, but ultimately, get put more better things into the hands of their users, because that's really what it's about, is seeing things cross the finish line and improving the lives of their users. So that's why this topic has been very important to us here at Lucid.
Well, that kind of formal introspection should be really interesting. It's also, it's harder and harder to find people willing to share active case studies from within the organization. So it would be great to hear the stories from what's going on in Lucid. So I want to thank you for taking this time to introduce yourself to our attendees, and look forward to seeing you in Seattle.
Yeah, I'm excited too. We'll see you next March.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.